صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So last week we stopped halfway through Surah Tawbah. Salam. Let's just go over some of the stuff here. So you know journaling, you know introduction to journaling. You're not getting a bit fed up of this, but I'm going to go through it every week. The color directory. We went through Qur'an City. The network is M14. You all know Walzim Qalbi. Yes? Hopefully. Hifdha kitabika kama allamtani. Okay. Surah Al-Fatiha. I need the focuses very quickly. Come on. Summary of the Qur'an. Baqarah, history of faith. Al-Imran, Muslim identity. Surah An-Nisa, manifestation of a Muslim identity, and you'll see it in a community which respects its women, right? Surah Al-Ma'idah, same thing, social values but perfection of religion. Surah Al-An'am, 6. Do you remember what An'am was? If you remember animals, you've got practical implications of Tawheed, but people made up their own rules. This is allowed and this is not allowed, and we do exactly the same. Okay, Surah Al-A'raf, 7. Rejecting divine guidance. And then you have Anfal, and you will see qualities of believers. Then we looked at Tawbah, which is hypocrisy exposed. So there's literally 3 types of people. You have those who outwardly say, I do not believe. You will have those who say, I believe. And then you'll have those who hide it. They don't know what's going on inside and outside. It's a disease in itself. Okay, so we're going to continue with Surah Tawbah. And we're at ayah 108. So if you turn to ayah 108, tell you a little bit about this. Now, what happened was it's historical. There was a person called Abu Amir Khazraji. You don't need to know the name. I can put it on the group if you want. So he hated Islam. He just couldn't handle it. Basically because he was a Christian scholar, and it meant that his importance would diminish. So he didn't like it at all. In fact, when the Prophet moved to Medina, he left Medina and moved to Makkah. And when he found that the Makkans were accepting Islam, he fled to Syria. But in his head, he just hated Islam. He just hated it, didn't like it at all. So he thought of a plan. And in his plan, he thought, if I build a masjid, then that will have an outward sort of sense of legitimacy. And I can hold meetings in there with people against the Prophet without anybody knowing. Because if you see a mosque with a dome and a minaret, you're just going to go in and pray, right? So he built it near Quba. Now this is known as Masjid al-Zarara. And maybe you'll find when you go to Umrah or Hajj, they will show it to you. So he says, لا تقم فيه أبدا. Don't ever stand in it. Al-Masjid al-Ussasa. Because this masjid is crazy. Okay, so I'm looking at 107, by the way. 108 is talking about Quba, sorry. I was reading 108. But 107, وَالَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا مَسْجِدًا ضَرَارًا. Can you see that? It's known as Masjid al-Zarara. So that's the one he's talking about. Now he's saying which masjid to stand in. So if you look at 108, لا تقم فيه أبدا لمسجد أسس. Don't stand in it, which is talking about Masjid al-Zarara. But here he says, the masjid that is founded on taqwa. Intention is really important, on God consciousness. Min awwali yawmin, from the first day. أحق أن تقوم فيه رجال يحبون أن يتطهروا والله يحب المتطهرين. And basically it says when you go to a mosque, be in wudu, be in tahara. And that's where it comes from. Okay? Right, 111. I'd like to talk about 111 before I go in a little bit further. So in Allah hashtara, Allah has bought min al-mu'minina anfusahum wa amwalahum, their souls, themselves, and their wealth. Bi'anna lahum jannah, and in exchange He gives them jannah. Yuqatiluna fi sabilillahi fayaktuluna wa yuqtalun. They fight in Allah's way. They give everything they have in the way of Allah. Now, I'm going to give you a sort of example to go by. So say, for example, you were selling a house, and somebody told you that I can buy your house outright in cash, but I'll give you $500,000 today. Your house is worth much, much more, but I'll give you $500,000 in cash today. Or I will give you 2 million, which is what your house is worth. I'm sorry, I'm speaking random numbers. 2 million a few years down the line. 90% of human beings don't like later on. 90% will go for now and the cash amount now, even if they're selling themselves short. Now here Allah is saying, for example, He's saying, give me yourselves, give yourself up in serving humanity, give your wealth in serving humanity, and I will give you Jannah later. I'm afraid there are no pictures. I can give you a description, but there's going to be no pictures, but you have to take my word. It's a tough thing to do unless you trust someone. Because He's telling you, this is the transaction. It's a spiritual transaction. So here He's saying, Inna Allah hashtara, He has bought yourselves and whatever you own. Wa'adan alayhi haqqan. He says it's a true promise. It's in the Torah, it's in the Injil, and it's in the Qur'an. And He says, who is better than to keep their side of the promise than Allah? Now He says, congratulations to those who take the deal. So if I were to give myself and whatever I had in serving humanity, then He's saying, congratulations, ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. That is the greatest achievement. Are you good? Okay. Now He describes who these people are. Because there needs to be a description. He says, التائبون العابدون الحامدون السائحون. He gives all their descriptions. Now you can read this later on in 9112. But these are the qualities. And it's actually in order. They constantly turn to Him. Tawbah doesn't only mean asking for forgiveness of sins. It means constantly turning to divinity. Then they are continually engaged in worship. Worship doesn't literally, when He says, مَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, I have created the human beings and the jinn only to worship me, doesn't only mean salah and saum and hajj and zakah or whatever. Any act that I do towards humanity is also worship. So they're constantly engaged in worship. They're constantly engaged in thanking Allah. Gratitude. Hamd is gratitude and praise. They're always grateful. Now, the fasting, see, saha, which is the word used here, also means to travel. When you travel, you don't have home comforts. You take a little bit. Unless you're my daughter who takes a massive suitcase for 2 days and says, I need options, okay? But normally, you take less than what you have at home. And that is what fasting does. Fasting means you deprive yourself of normality. So they also fast. They go into ruku. They go into sajda, which means they pray. They do amr bil ma'ruf. They command good. Nahi anil munkar. They don't like people doing anything wrong. They will not accept it. And they keep to the limits of Allah. So there are 9 qualities. If I go back, you will see. At-ta'ibun, tawbah. Al-abidun, they do worship. Hamidun, gratitude. Sa'ihun is the fasting bit. Raqi'un, ruku. Sajidun, sajda. Al-amiru bil ma'ruf. Nahuna anil munkar. Wa hafiduna li hududillah. And then he says, wa bashir al-mu'minun. Congratulate them again. Okay? Now it might sound, but you can do a tick box here. Do you do tawbah? Do you worship? Do you do hamd? Do you do sajda, ruku? Then you're fine. You're good. Don't accept anyone saying that you've got a shortfall if you're going to do all these. Okay. All right. 9119. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. The Prophet said this made his hair grey. O you who believe, ittaqullah, be God conscious. Kunu ma'as sadiqin. Be with those who are truthful. There's a difference between being truthful and being honest. You know that? Okay. You thought both were the same. Honesty means not telling lies. Truthful is you see what you get. Okay, it's a little bit more. You can look into it. So now the Prophet says, how do you know that somebody is truthful or not? Forget about everybody else. How do I know if I'm truthful or not? So the first sign is that you keep your commitments and your promises, and you live up to them. Doesn't matter how difficult they are, but you keep up to them. The second one is you have an accurate account of your accomplishments. Your CV is not hyped up by AI and ChatGPT. Okay? It is as it is. You are as you are. You don't hype it up. And the third thing, they're aware of their personal positivities and negativities. So they know their strengths and failures, their successes and failures. And finally, the last one, they don't hide behind a mask. They have no mask to hide under. They are who they are. They don't mislead anybody as to who they are. Okay? So it's actually looking at ourselves and be with the true ones or be. And he said that turned his hair grey. And then my favorite ayah. I love this ayah. It's like, all right, I say that for a lot of ayat of the Qur'an, but this is just beautiful. And it's in Surah At-Tawbah, which people don't like to read. لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ. Ja'a in Gujarati is go. In Arabic, it's come. Has come to your Prophet. مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ. From yourself. عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتْتُمْ. You know, you are so close to him. The way he says it is, everything that is hard for you, anittum, is hard from him too. He cares so much. Harisun alaykum. Haris in Arabic is greedy. He just wants to know everything about you. He's so passionately concerned about you. Alaykum bil mu'minin. For those who believe, Ra'ufur Rahim. He is Ra'uf, and that's the name of Allah as well. He understands what you're going through. That's what Ra'uf means. He feels your pain. He's extremely understanding and incredibly compassionate. That's all Ra'uf. Now, a little while ago, I told you about, you call him, Allah as Ya Ali bihaqqi Ali. Here you will say Ya Ra'uf bihaqqi Ra'uf. The first cause is always Allah. So look into the Asma al-Husna. Look at where Ra'uf is. I think it's 83, if I'm not mistaken. So it's number 83. The book is on the website, or you can look it up anywhere else you want. But Ra'uf is an amazing name of Allah. And here Allah attributes his name to the Prophet, because the Prophet said, "Takhalluqu bi akhlaqillah." Adopt in yourself the akhlaq of Allah. The sixth Imam tells his son, now the fifth Imam tells his son, the sixth Imam, that whenever you're in trouble, recite Ya Ra'uf, Ya Rahim. Write that down, you know. Ya Ra'uf, bihaqqi Ra'uf, and Imam Rida is known as Ra'uf, as Imam Ra'uf as well. Right, Surah Yunus. So let's look at the short focus of Yunus. So Surah Yunus is never too late. Even if they called the Qur'an magic, and we'll see the ayah that comes across, it's just never too late to turn back. Qur'an, the whole surah will tell you that Qur'an is divinely attained, and we'll see it as we go along. But and I was telling the children last Saturday that literally it's never too late, full stop. If you can look at Yunus and think it's never too late, and the whole story of Yunus is about that as well. Prophet Yunus is only mentioned here, I think it's ayah 98 if I'm not mistaken. And I'll talk about the story of Prophet Yunus if I have time. Right. So first of all, it's a surah that begins with Alif Lam Ra. Look at the first ayah. So there are 6 surahs that are known as Ra'at. And they're in a row, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And all of these begin with Alif Lam Ra. They're known as Ra'at. And they speak of the book. You will see all these 6 surahs speak of the book. All the Fawatih means beginning of surahs. They're grouped together because they have a certain thread that runs along them. Okay? This is part of Huruful Muqattiyat. There are 29 surahs that begin with, whether it's Alif Lam Mim, Alif Lam Mim Ra, or Alif Lam Ra, etc. Noon, Kaf, Sin, whatever. And in Quran City, if you remember, we talked about them. So this is Ra'at, 10 to 15. Okay? So it starts with Alif Lam Ra. Now let's look at 10 to. Akana linnasi ajaban. So he's saying, is it so strange to people, that he has revealed to a man amongst them, and so that he may warn human beings, and that he'll give good news to those who believe, lahum qadama sidkin inda rabbihim. Now that bit you could maybe underline. Qadama sidkin. On the day of Qiyamah, everybody will be frozen on the spot. They won't move. They can't move. They can't go anywhere. They're frozen on the spot until they're giving their accounts. But people who believe will be allowed to step back and forth, or take a step forward, or be allowed to have, if you can say, be actually firm in what they're believing. But in essence, the Mufassirin tell us that they will be allowed to move. أَكَانَ لِلْكَافِرُونَ إِنَّ هَذَا لَسَاحِرٌ مُبِينٌ. Now this is probably the central ayah of this surah, because those who disbelieved said it is magic. Now, in essence, magic sounds like they're saying something derogatory, but they're not really. They're actually praising the Qur'an, because they're saying it's supernatural. We don't understand it. It's affecting us, but we're not understanding it. And therefore, in a weird sort of way, in a skewed sort of way, what they called magic was something I don't understand, but it's really affecting me. It's affecting my heart, it's affecting my soul, it's getting to me. So that's what they said, okay? Right, 10:12. وَإِذَا مَسَّ الْإِنسَانَ الضُّرُّ. When the human being is affected with difficulty, you say, أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ. So that's the difficulty. دَعَانَا, he will call us لِجَنْبِهِ أَوْ قَائِدًا أَوْ قَائِمًا. Whatever's going on, he will call us. He will do du'as in every possible way. فَلَمَّا قَشَفْنَا. Kashafa is to unravel. So if you're unraveling some wool or you're taking something apart, it's known as kashafa, right? So when we unravel his difficulty, look what happens. ضُرَّهُ مَرَّ كَعَلَّمْ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى ضَرٍّ مَسَّهُ كَذَلِكَ زُيِّنَ لِلْمُسْرِفِينَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. It's as though he doesn't even know who we are. It's gone. All those promises he made. I promise I will pray, I will promise I will do this, I will promise. He forgets all that. And he becomes musrifin. He does asraf on his time. And then 21, same sort of theme that's going on. وَإِذَا ذَكْنَا النَّاسَ. And when we make people taste mercy, مِن بَعْدِ ضَرَّاءِ, after difficulty, مَسَّتْهُمْ إِذَا لَمْ مَقْرُمْ فِي آيَاتِنَا. They actually go back to plot against us. They say, I did this. I got myself out of trouble. قُلِ اللَّهُ أَسْرَعُ مَكْرًا. They don't realize that Allah has a plan as well. إِنَّ رُسُلُنَا يَكْتُبُونَ مَا تَمْكُرُونَ. Our messengers write down what you plan. In other words, our angels write down absolutely everything that you do. So even if you're thinking through things, we're going to write it down. It's going to be there. I recently got one of these, which records, and then it goes onto an app, and it transcribes everything. And it just reminds me of this ayah, because basically, not only does it record, it will transcribe. It will say exactly what is happening. Okay, so I guess there's a lot more to be said on this. Now, if you look at 10:24, what he's trying to say is that you may have got out of your difficulty, but the tables can turn very, very quickly. And he gives a parable here. He says, إِنَّمَا مَثَلُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. The life of the world is like water that comes down from the skies. Now let me just paraphrase all this. Basically, if you can imagine, water that comes from the skies, a farm is so beautiful, and the farmers think, tomorrow we're going to have harvest. So they're thinking, what can go wrong? Nothing. We've worked all year, everything's sorted, and tomorrow will be harvest. And then what happens to the harvest? Allah sends a storm at night. So the next morning when they go, everything is hasid, it's stubble. There's nothing to do. كَأَلَّمْ تَغْنَى بِالْأَمْسِ. And they thought that this was rich, they were rich. They never thought things could change. كَذَلِكَ نُفَصِّلُ الْآيَاتِ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. It is something for people to think about, for people who think. Anything can change in a day. So he's saying the tables can turn any time. You're sitting here thinking everything's hunky-dory, but you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So all that we went back to when we talked about the 9 signs, about doing gratitude, hum, the ruku, sujood, etc., all comes into play here. Right, 10:24. 25 rather. Wallahu yad'u ila daris salam. So basically what he's saying, that everybody else will not give you peace. There's no peaceful house in the dunya. If you look at 10, let me come to it. We're on 25 rather. If you look at 24, which we looked at just now, there is literally no stability in the world, no peace. The only peace is Wallahu yadu ila dar salam. Only Allah can bring you to the house of peace as such. وَيَهْدِي مَن يَشَاءُ. He can guide who He wants. In other words, who wants to be guided ila sirat al-mustaqim, to their full potential. Surah number 13, Surah Al-Ra'd. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innal qulub. There is no contentment except with the remembrance of Allah. Right, 10:30. Now it goes to Qiyamah. Hunalika. Hunalika means there and then. Tablu kullu nafsim ma aslafat. Salafa means what came in the past. So basically, there and then, on the day of Qiyamah, you will see what you did in the past. وَرُدُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. And you will be brought back. Rudi in Swahili is to go back to Allah. Mawlahumul haq, He is truthful. وَضَلَّ عَنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَفْتَرُونَ. And anything you pretended to be, or you made out to be, or you weren't, will all go to waste. Better to be authentic. 10:57. Ya ayyuhan nas. This is a beautiful ayah on the Quran. Qad ja'akum, has come to you. Maw'idatan. Now maw'idah is a deep, powerful, penetrating advice. Now I'll come to majlis in a minute. Min rabbikum, from your Rabb. Wa shifa'un lima fi sudurikum. And it's a healing for, and he doesn't say a healing for the heart. Heart is qalb. Qalb is enclosed in a sadr. Sudur is plural of sadr. If you can imagine your house in a treasure chest, that chest is known as sadr. وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةً لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And it is a guidance and mercy for those who believe. Maw'idah basically means something that makes you cry, something that affects your emotions, something that moves you. And thus the wonderful, if I can say, what our Aimma did, the way they planned it, was when you learnt about religion, you learnt it in a majlis. And when you went to the majlis and you went to first Shaykh Hussein, just the name Hussein would bring you tears. And when your heart became soft, it was easier for you to take in information. I was just talking to somebody just now, and we said Muharram will be closed for 2 Thursdays, when really Muharram is the time to learn Qur'an. Because it is a time when you're softer and you're able to take in much more Qur'an than normal. Okay, but anyway. So, Yasmin, you're listening, aren't you? Ya ayyuhan nas qad ja'atkum maw'idatan min rabbikum wa shifa'un lima. And it tells you it will heal that treasure chest, that area around your heart. Right, 10:62 and 63. Right? Basically, it's 62 to 64. It actually talks about, if I am a friend of Allah, awliya means if I'm inclined towards Allah, these are the qualities I will show. Allah in awliya illahi la khawfun alayhim. They're not scared at all. Not at all. Walahum yahzanun. And they're not sad either. They're not scared. They're not sad about themselves. But they're scared and sad for others. So if I was sad because of what's going on in the world, that's different. That's humanity talking. But not about themselves, they're okay. Alladina amanu wa kanu yattakun. They believe and they are God conscious. Lahumul bushra fil hayat dunya. And they will be congratulated in the world and in the akhirah. La tabdila li kalimatillah. There is no change in Allah's word. Dhalika huwal fawdul adhim. And now it's cut down those 9 things to just 4. If you believe and you're God conscious, in other words, you serve humanity, then you will not be scared of anyone and you will not be sad either. 90% of the time, 99% of the time, we're sad because of what we did. So we're asking for forgiveness. You may be doing Amali Arafat next Thursday? You're doing them on next Friday. You're doing them Friday, okay. So if you're doing them either Thursday or Friday, you will find the whole thing in Awaliya Arafat is gratitude. And then right at the end, there are 4 Asma al-Husna. We'll talk about them next Thursday. But you're actually saying, Ya Allah, if you were to give this to me, which I want to ask you about, nobody can take it away from me. And if you wouldn't give it to me, nobody can give it to me. And you say, وَفَقَاقَ رَكَبَتِ مِنَ النَّارِ. All I want is freedom from agitation or freedom from the fire. And that's all you're asking for. And this is exactly what this is talking about. Right, 1071. Now, there's not much I want to talk about here because we're not going to do the story of Prophet Nuh. All I need you to do is underline Nuh. In this surah, see Hud and Yunus are like sisters. Here there's a little bit of Nuh. In Hud you'll find a lot of Nuh. In here there's a lot of Musa and Harun. In Hud you'll find a little bit of Musa and Harun. So all you need to do is underline Nuh or circle it, or you've got a sticker I think that says Nuh, which you can put in there, right? We're not going to go into the story. And then in 75 you got Musa and Harun. And you only have to underline that. Inshallah, when we come to the other surah where they're talked about a lot, we will talk about them. But here we have Yunus. I think I've got 5 minutes, okay? Now here, فَلَوْلَا كَانَتْ قَرْيَةٌ آمَنَتْ فَنَفْحَ إِيمَانُهُمْ إِلَّا قَوْمَ Yunus. It's the only place where Yunus is mentioned. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about Yunus. Yunus's father was called Matta. He was a woodcutter. He was an honest guy. In fact, Prophet Dawood and Sulaiman asked Allah, who is going to be our neighbor in Jannah? And they're told to go to Nineveh, where today Karbala stands. Nineveh had 100,000 people. And when they went to see, they didn't tell him anything. When they went to see Matta, they saw a man who was not only honest, but extremely grateful to God. Everything he did, he showed his gratefulness to God. And this was in Nineveh. And they said, now we know why he's our neighbor in Jannah. Now the people of Nineveh strayed away. They started becoming selfish. They started they went through a lot of difficulties. When I say difficulties, they went away from being good people or believing in Allah. So Allah sends Prophet Yunus at the age of 30 to the town of Nineveh. For 33 years he talks to them. They don't listen. Only 2 people listen, and one's called Rubil and one's called Tanuka. I'll try and put it on the group. Rubil and Tanuka are his good friends. So he raises his hands to God and he said, 33 years I've been talking to them and they don't listen. Can you punish them? And Allah tells him, but they're babies and old people and frail women. What is wrong with you? Patience, have sabr. And he says, but Ya Allah, they just don't want to listen to me. And he says, I'm only angry at them because of you. They don't want to believe in you. And Allah says, my mercy always precedes my anger. Anyway, Allah says, okay, I've listened to you. They will have this punishment, and I'll tell you the day, the middle Wednesday of Shawwal after sunrise. Go tell them. So he goes to his 2 friends, and he says, shall I tell them? One of them says, Rubil is the one who says, look, don't tell them. Just go plead to Allah to avert the punishment. He's the kind one. The other guy says, don't tell them. Let that punishment come and kill them. And see, 2 types of people in the world. One's harsh, one's soft. And he decides to tell them. So he tells them, this is the day the punishment will come. They get even more angry. They say, okay, bring it if you want. Big deal. We're not changing. So he leaves them. When he leaves them, they see black clouds gather. And they go to Rubil, because they know he's the kind one. And they say, what shall we do? So he said, ask for forgiveness. So they stand under the sky, they ask for forgiveness, and the punishment is averted. While he runs to the sea, gets onto a boat, which you all know, boat is too heavy. They have straws. He gets the short straw. He's chucked out and swallowed by a whale. And he realizes when he's in the whale, why? Because he did not have patience with people. He was too quick to judge. 33 years, come on. We judge in 3 minutes. Okay? 33 years. And that's why I said, La ilaha illa ant subhanaka inni kuntu minadh zalimin. 2187, Ayatul Karima, amazing. Okay, we'll finish the last one. I think it's the last one, at least I hope it is. So you have 10:107, that's the last one. If Allah was to intend anything, any difficulty for you, فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ, nobody would be able to unravel it. إِلَّا هُ, except Him. وَإِذْ يُرِدْكَ خَيْرٍ, if He wishes good for you, فَلَا رَادَّ لِفَضْلِهِ, then there is none to take it away from you. Yusibu bihi man yasha'u, he gives it to whoever he pleases, min ibadihi, wa huwal ghafurur rahim, and he is Ghafur and he is Rahim. Now the word here that you may want to underline is yusib. Most of us know what musiba is. Musiba is like, it actually targets where it hurts you. Okay, it's like Achilles heel, it's your Achilles heel. And if you look at this surah, like I said, it's a phenomenal surah. It sort of starts off with the Qur'an and it ends off right at the end with the Qur'an. If you look at 109, it says, وَاتَّبِعْ مَا يُوحَى إِلَيْكَ وَاصْبِرْ حَتَّى يَحْكَمَ اللَّهُ وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. So it starts with them calling it magic and ends with following it. Okay, go back to the short focus very quickly. It's never too late to change, even if you call it magic. And if you're calling it magic, it definitely is a good thing. And the second thing is that the Qur'an is from divinity. Are you good? Okay. So next week we will do Surah Hud. It's not very long actually, but I suppose it will take us the whole time. And then obviously the most favorite story of the Qur'an, Surah Yusuf. Passion, betrayal, absolutely everything. Are you good? Can we end with the Surah Al-Fatiha? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim. Waladdallin. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Would you like the story of Prophet Yunus? You would. I'll put it on the group, okay? Because you don't know the friends, the names of them, and all the rest of it.